is 6 o'clock, so let's call this meeting to order. This is the November 14th Parks Advisory Board meeting. If we could do roll call, please.
Right, Bartels.
Here.
Davis. Dearth.
Here.
Hudak.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Metz.
Here.
Millette.
Here.
Palmieri. And Qualley. All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to the approval of September 12th minutes. Are there any additions, corrections? Nope. All right. So
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Excellent. All right, I don't see any citizen statements in here. So, any old business? All right, so we'll go on to new business.
As Travis gets ready, just to let the people watching or listening know, Travis Dirks is our landscape operations manager / city forester. So Travis oversees city green spaces, urban forest, Riverside Cemetery, Boyd Cemetery, and Travis wanted to give a presentation tonight on the emerald ash borer, shortened up by saying EAB, and it's affecting obviously ash trees, not only in the Oshkosh community but across the Midwest, and Travis will get into that a little bit too. So.
All right, so yes, I'm Travis Dirks, City Forester. I'm just here to give you, like Ray said, a little impact on the report on the emerald ash borer of the city of Oshkosh. So just a real quick brief history. Emerald ash borer was first introduced into the United States through shipping material into Michigan in 2002. It then made its way down around Lake Michigan and entered Wisconsin in 2008. And from there, it took a good 8 years before we got our first confirmed sighting infestation in Oshkosh in 2016. So once it hit, it started out kind of slow, but there are a few areas that it really devastated and really hit hard. We don't have a slide of it right now, but one of the first ones that we had was Maricopa Drive. That, like Lark Street here, Maricopa was lined with ash. There's one, if not two, trees planted in every property, and EAB decided to have a nice lunch and infest every one of them, completely devastating the street to where it looks like Lark Street here, where everything else is green around it and all the ash trees are just completely standing dead. Another spot is Viola Ave. That's got the same thing, where there's at least one or two ash trees on every property, all infested. Our parklands were not missed by any means. One of the biggest ones was South Park. I don't remember the number right offhand, but that has a number of ash that we still have to remove. We went through and removed, I want to say, close to 20, 25 of them last winter, and there's still quite a few that we need to get through. Our other parks, so we've already been through West Haven Circle Park. I believe we took 10 off of there. We took roughly 15 from 44th Parallel. I know there are upwards of 60 in Riverside Cemetery that are all standing ready to come down. And not to mention Aiken Acres, the North High Conservancy, or where this summer we went through and we removed roughly 120 trees on the northern border that were ready to come down and smash people's houses and other private property. So as you can see here through this nice picture, that there's still, a good majority of that forest that's ash trees that need to be removed. So with that, what has the Parks Department and Forestry done in that time span? So we've started treating in 2014, and we tried to continue that with a 3-year cycle. Also in 2020, we started to selectively remove some of the more heavily infested and dead ash trees off of the terraces. As you can see, in 2021, it's 240 out of the 311 total trees removed were ash trees. That kind of gave us a clear indication that we were not going to be able to handle this in-house, and we were going to have to try and bring in some other help. Which then leads us to February of this year. We hired a contractor. Well, actually, in February, we hired 2 contractors to take 2 different sections of the city and remove the terrace trees. After we saw the decent job that they were doing, we were approved to hire another contractor for the rest of the city in July. So the first 2 zones that we had done in February were Zone 3 and Zone 4. So as you can see, the 232 trees in Zone 3 and 34 trees in Zone 4. This next zone, we did both Zone 1 and Zone 2 in the second one. Zones 1 and 2 also include stump grinding and the terrace restoration. So with zones 3 and 4, that was strictly for the removal of the tree. The city, our staff still has to go through and remove the stumps and restore the terraces, which we are working on. Hopefully, the majority of all of the stumps will be done within the next couple of weeks. They're all located and ready to go. It's just a matter of hoping that the weather holds out and we don't have anybody get sick or any of that. Moving forward, we are planning on replanting a lot of the spaces or a lot of the sites that we took the trees out of. If residents want, they can call me. I will put them on a list, and we will try and replant them in a strategic way. We're also developing a strategic plan. We are going to diversify the species. We aren't going to plant one single species all the way down the road anymore. Likewise, as you can see, we're also going to try and diversify the age. So we aren't going to plant the entire street even with different species. We're going to stagger them so that we have a variety of ages on the street as well. So now, all of this would not be able to happen without some sort of funding of some kind. So with that, we have partnered with the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation to try and raise funds for all of this. They have put on another campaign called Taking Route 2. Some of you may remember that there was a Taking Route 1 in about 2010. They started a campaign basically for the same thing, to try and reforest and replant a lot of the Oshkosh terraces. So that's why this is Taking Route 2. If you'd like to donate, you can go right to the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation's website and follow the links there. With that, through the rest of this year, any funds that are donated will be matched by the JEK Good Samaritan up to $100,000. So anything that you donate will have double the impact towards replanting the city of Oshkosh trees. Any questions?
When does this start again? Or is this going on right now?
That's going on right now.
Okay.
Yep.
And if people want to donate, they can just contact the
Yep, they can go
Community
right to the Community Foundation website.
What happens to all of the trees that you cut down?
Unfortunately, we just kind of take them to a yard. They end up getting ground into mulch. So, well, and actually with Zone 1 and 2, the contractor, we don't even have anything with it. They get hauled right off site, right to their location. So, with the city-produced logs, they get hauled to a site and they sit there, and then we have a company come in and grind them. So we've been working on trying to get a partnership or something to utilize them, but it's kind of been slow going.
I have a question, because I was told that you can't mix that it had to be burned because there's still residue for several years. You wouldn't want to get that mixed in other?
You can have certified chips, and if I don't remember right offhand, but I believe as long as they are chipping it to under an inch square, they're okay. And if they take some other precautions and procedures to make sure that all of the larvae and everything are dead.
Is there a critical time that they need to be removed? I think I was talking to Chad about this one day. Like, is there a certain time is it harder to remove them after a certain period of time? Do they have to go now? Like, what's the timeline to get them all out of there?
Typically, they'll start to become more brittle, and it's for our method of removal, it doesn't hinder us too much. It's more for people that still climb the trees. The wood loses its structural integrity, and so I was reading something the other day where it's a 5-inch branch would have the integrity of about a 3-inch branch after, I forget what it was like 3 or 4 years after standing dead. So it does lose. There's no real critical time. Obviously, you want to get to them sooner than later. But
Other questions for Travis?
So more trees will be dying in this process too, right? Because it's still active in the city.
yeah, we're not going to get rid of it. It will be here for a number of years.
If I can just real quickly, as part of one of the requests when we went to council the second time around to hire a contractor, we did include a request of an additional roughly $100,000 from the city to go into the Taking Route 2 fund at the Community Foundation. So the city has skin in the game. So we have actually the $100,000 from the city and the JK Foundation, that $100,000 match. So our goal with this fundraising campaign is $500,000. That would replace roughly about 1,200 to 1,300 trees is what we're figuring.
Thanks, Travis. Kind of a sad presentation, so, but. Yeah. All right, next order of business is the update on the 2023 budget.
So the Common Council last Wednesday at their meeting finalized the 2023 operating budget as well as the 2023 capital improvement projects. And so I wanted to bring back to this board and let you know which projects were included for next year. So we do have some additional funding to continue work out at Lakeshore Park. The Quarry Park restroom shelter parking lot demolition, if you recall when we talked about those projects, that project was funded as well. West Haven Circle tennis courts, that'll be a resurfacing, and what we're also doing there is removing one of the tennis courts and adding pickleball courts. Tech Miller tennis courts, resurfacing, same thing there. We'd be removing one of the courts and putting some pickleball courts there. And what that will help us do, if you haven't seen, pickleball courts are hard to come by in the city when it's the summertime. So we'll have pickleball courts at Menominee Park, South Park, West Haven Circle, and Tech Miller, pretty much in all 4 quadrants of the city. So trying to accommodate the residents in all of those areas. The Roosh Park trail development, basically. That's the trail going from Traeger School to the residential to the west. Pickard Park development. Pickard Park is the newer park on the west side on 9th and Clairville area. So we'll work with the neighbors there to begin developing that park site. Rowe Park, the play equipment will be replaced. We do have a $25,000 that Chad and I request annually for some trail improvements. And you've probably seen, hopefully over at Menominee Park, some of those funds were used there this year to do the Menominee Park Trail and then all the way out to Ames Point. And then for the Riverside Cemetery, every other year, we request $25,000 to help do some of the road replacement out at Riverside Cemetery. So that was included as well. We do have to do our update of our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, or CORP. That's required every 5 years by the DNR so that we can remain eligible for grant funding. So that'll be a process we'll be going through in '23. If you're not familiar with the CORP, basically that's our comprehensive plan for all the city parks. It's really our roadmap for the next 5 years as far as what needs to take place in each park. So it's a long process, but it's also very informative, as well as helpful to all of us as we put together those CIP lists every year. So, and then as far as Emerald Ash Borer goes, we requested another $250,000 to help with, we know there's going to be additional removals that we're going to have to do. So most of that will most likely focus on removals. And once we're done with removals, if there's available funding, we'd look to help do some replacements. But Travis and I talked about it, and we're already seeing, after the contractors are going through some of these areas, trees that need to come down that weren't on their list. So we've got a lot of funding, a lot of projects, and these include, they're on top of our current parks building that's going on top of the Four Seasons building that's finishing up, the zoo bear exhibit that Chad is working on, obviously. So we've got a lot of pretty major projects going on, which is very, very nice to see that the council is supporting quality of life in the parks. A number of these projects, and if you've been on for a couple of years, you'll know this is a more extensive project list than we normally get. I would say if we take in, like we did this year, I think 10 projects, if we get typically 3 or 4 of those funded, was a pretty good year for us. The reason why we are getting, I think, some additional projects funding, the city has some ARPA dollars yet from the pandemic that they're trying to help each of the departments in some way. And so I think 2 of our projects, they included as part of the ARPA funding. We have another one, the Rowe Park play equipment project. That's coming from our Healthy Neighborhood. So we worked with the River East Neighborhood Association. They actually put in a grant fund with the city. And then one of the, I forget which park it is, I think it's Roosh Park possibly, where we're using some of the fees in lieu of parkland dedication to develop that. So, again, it's a lot of projects compared to other years, but there's some different funding sources this year that helped us get a number of these. I think also that West Haven tennis courts, that project was funded with ARPA too. So, so again, I think it's city manager, finance director, city council recognize the need to keep moving some of these projects. So, any questions on any of those? I can.
So another $250,000 for all the ash trees, and looking what Travis put up before, so it's like over $750,000 just taking trees down.
Correct.
Not even replacing them, just taking them down.
And that doesn't even include our in-house staff
in-house staff
that is doing as much as they can handle as well. And it's not uncommon. I mean, I've seen other communities where they're spending millions of dollars in just the removal process.
Wow.
And that's just what the city's doing. The residents have, golf courses, it's, wow.
I was speaking at the beginning of the year. I spoke with the West Haven golf course, and they had just shy of 300 ash trees that they had to remove themselves.
And they have more that they haven't removed yet.
Right.
My daughter lives by that, so I see, I see why. Yeah. Wow. I'm so-
I think the other thing that, as far as the EAB goes, we are making it our effort to get as many out of the terrace areas as possible before we get into the winter months. Get high winds, heavy snows, that type of thing, to make sure that we don't have them, falling into the right-of-way streets or sidewalks. We are receiving complaints from neighbors or others around the city about dead ash trees. And if it's something where it's more of a neighbor-neighbor issue, we ask that they resolve it amongst themselves. But if it's, again, something on private property that's going to affect street, sidewalk, the right-of-way, Travis needs to go out and take a look at that and make a determination. Travis has a certification in tree risk assessment, so he completes a form. And if it is something that we feel is urgent, then he's working with our city attorneys to let the property owners know that you have a certain amount of time to have those removed. So we're not going out looking for these, but if they are something that, again, could affect the right-of-way, those are what are high on our list, just like our own terrace trees. EAB, I think I'll stay on there right now because we did, Travis and Ann Schaefer applied for a DNR urban forestry grant to help with some additional plantings. And we're hoping to get some good news from them, if not by the end of the year, early next year, hopefully. So that was a maximum $25,000 grant, but right now anything will help us. So, any questions on the projects at all? We'll definitely keep you up to date on a number of these because it'll be throughout the year. We'll work them in.
And 10 total, you said.
I have 9, including Riverside Park.
Okay.
And then I have the Corp update and the EAB mitigation projects, but additional funding.
A lot going on.
It is.
Good luck, fellas.
That's great. Thanks, Ray. And it looks like we stay to you for staff reports.
Yep, I will keep it brief. I wanted to give you an update on the Chief Oshkosh sign project. We have been working with the company that we initially sent the purchase order request to back in April, I believe. Like everybody else, they're short-staffed, they have some staff turnover, other things going on. We finally did receive the first 2 proofs. If you recall, there's 5 different signs or plaques that will go out there. Within the last 10 days or so, we received the first 2 proofs, and I worked with the Menominee Indian tribe to make sure that they took a look at the proofs before we sent them on, approved them. But those 2 plaques should be manufactured, and then we're still waiting to see the other 3 proofs. So we'll continue to work with the Menominee tribe in getting those final versions of those approved. I would expect we'll get those shipped to us over the next couple of weeks here. And then what we're looking at doing is sometime when we can get concrete and get into the site, we'll have those installed around the Chief Oshkosh Monument. So we're working closely with the Menominee Nation tribe on that. So again, that's something that once concrete becomes available in the spring and it's dry enough that we can get equipment out to the site, that'll be on our project list as well. The other one is Lakeshore Park Four Seasons building. As we reported 2 months ago, I believe. Still some building delays. We're seeing a delay in getting the landscaping going out there. So what that does is put a halt to any asphalt that we're going to be doing out at the parking lot or the roadway entrance, because they're going to have heavier trucks coming in, not only for the building construction yet, as well as the landscaping. We don't want to put down new asphalt and risk any damage with heavy vehicles. So we made a decision last week. We're going to hold off asphalting until spring, and we're going to be hopefully one of the first projects out of the gate for the contractor. And so I'm waiting for an updated schedule for completion for the project. But right now, I'm saying that by June 1st of next year, we should have the building ready, the parking lot done, and available for public use. So if it's before then, great, but I don't want to push it more before June 1st. Because typically, the asphalt plants won't open until about May 1st or so, weather dependent. They might open up a little early. So if we can get the asphalt paving done by mid-May, we should be good to go. So stay tuned. Progress, but slow progress.
Drove by and saw the concrete panels, but it looks like it's starting to look like something there.
It'll be moving quicker now.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it, Tony.
That's great. Thank you, Ray. It's exciting. To you, Chad.
Yeah, just a couple things to update you on in regards to if you see some activity around Pollock Community Water Park right now. We are working with our contractor on doing some replastering of the lazy river this year. So, being the pool's 17 years old, it's done very well, but it has to go through some restoration projects. So that'll be taking course throughout the winter, but things will be ready for spring when we go to fill in that end. So you might see hoods up along there when they try to start installing plaster for heated areas and stuff of that nature. The second one would be is out at Roosh Park. If you remember earlier this year, we had a Girl Scout troop come through that wanted to do a monarch station out at Roosh Park. Everything got planted the first weekend in October. Hopefully it does well here through the season and next year develops what they're hoping for here in the long run. So if you're out there walking, you'll see that triangle on the west side. This past fall, we've been working more with the Oshkosh Recreation Department on getting back and doing some field restorations. They worked with us on getting the Reach South diamonds and also some of the North Field diamonds edged out, surfacing in. Brought in a professional contractor to help with laser grading and adding material to bring those fields back up into a good status. So it was a very nice project from that. You wouldn't swear it was right now after all the goose traffic there this fall, but it did turn out very well. And it's something we wanted to keep collaborating with here in the future with other diamonds throughout in the future here. So that's all I have to report, but I can entertain any questions too right now if there's anything.
Thank you, Chad. Travis, back to you.
Perfect. I'll keep mine brief as well. We're really just working on stumps. We're going through, hopefully, like I said, we should have everything from zones 3 and 4 should be stumped in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, they're all located, so as long as the weather holds out for us, we'll get it done. We finished up our tree planting a couple of weeks ago for the fall season. We planted 11 different species, so we are going with the diversity. Like I said, if residents want to have a terrace tree planted in their terrace, they can call us up and get on a list, and if we're able to, we'll definitely put a tree in their yard or in their terrace. The only reason we wouldn't, it would be, it's if the terrace is too small or utilities don't make it plausible. The one thing that I didn't have on the sheet that I just want to touch on is we did get the new holiday tree since the last time. So we took the old one and moved it over by the Kiwanis shelter in Menominee Park and replaced it with a Serbian spruce, which should hopefully last much longer. It's nicely shaped. We chose that because it is disease and insect resistant. And so it hopefully will serve the community for many, many, many years to come.
You want to make a plug for the Memorial Tree Program? So if people are interested in that.
Sure. We also have a memorial tree program. So like the name suggests, if you want to buy a tree in remembrance of somebody, we plant those on any of the city green spaces, so all of the parks. It comes with it's a 12 by 8, 12 by 10 plaque that you can have a certain number of letters inscribed on it. And right now they are $400. So if you want to do that, you can contact the parks office.
You can get them online as well.
Or you can get them online.
Yep,
as
if you
well.
go to the city parks website, you can go to the bottom of the page. It talks about volunteering and donation opportunities, where it talks, you can either do the general donation, the memorial bench, or the memorial tree program. If you click on the memorial tree program, that will bring up the brochure that you would complete and bring into the office. You can always call the office, and I can answer any questions that I'm able to, and when I can't answer them, Go Travis.
Thank you, Stacy.
All right, thank you, Travis. Moving on, is there any other business?
I have one question. It's really not, is this the time I can ask it? So, my granddaughter's in cross-country in the fall, and all of the schools had a big meet at Red Arrow Park, and the restrooms were closed. And there were children that needed to use the restroom. I called Stacy. But should the school be contacting the Parks Department to say this is when this big meet is held? Or,
We work with the school on that stuff, on that,
Okay.
that particular event. That wasn't really publicized with us to go through, but we gotta do a little bit better job coordinating those efforts, yes.
yeah, I mean, I thought you must not have known. 'Cause-
Yep.
But I just, anyway,
Oh.
thank you.
And we can accommodate up to certain dates of the year, obviously, because they're not heated, and so we do have to make sure we can shut them down and get things ready for winter too, so
Well, it's just
depending on.
middle school, so it's not like they were, it wasn't a big deal, but.
Yeah,
It's still a convenience, and it's
Yeah.
nice to have, yes,
It
I
was
can
all of
understand
them,
that,
so,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
Thanks. Somebody came and took care of it, so that was great. Good response.
Any other business? All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.